Okay, so 5.31 we have done. It was, this part was a bit tricky. It's 1 minus cos square plus 1, same thing. So that's sine square, and that is you take minus out and it's double angle. So when you write double angle, you take sine out as a common factor, so it's exactly the one in denominator. So they cancel, you got right hand side. Now, but 5.32. Which values the identity will be undefined? So undefined option, you focus basically when denominator gets 0. Okay, if there's a denominator is equal to 0. Or it could be like when tangent has tangent x happens. Okay, so when tangent x exists, let's say that way, then remember there are asymptote lines. So you have x is equal to 90 plus k times 180. So every time when there is tangent, because tangent is sine over cosine, so that's the reason. So whatever makes cosine 0. So we will be looking two things. When tangent exists, so 90 and k times 180 options are undefined, or it doesn't matter, there is no tangent, but whenever there is a fraction, whatever makes denominator 0 has the expression becomes undefined in that case. So we have denominator, so we will equate it to 0. So it's going to be basically solving an equation. Sine theta minus 2 cosine theta is 0. So we will be solving this equation. So how can you solve this equation? So in this case, we don't have tangent. It's just solving that equation. So how can we solve that equation? I mean, you can take cosine other side, and then it may be easier to see it is type 1. What was type 1? You divide by cosine, everything, so that becomes tangent is 2. And then use calculator, it is plus k times 180. So that's 4 marks because it's solving a type 1 question. So that is type 1. That's why we divide by cosine. So let me write type 1. I hope you remember type 1 is when there is sine and cosine with the same angle. So when you divide by cosine, sine becomes tangent, and 2 cosine cancel, it's just 2. So then the calculator will give you an answer. So those are the values that expression is undefined. So expression undefined questions, that's what you do. You just look at the denominator of the thing. And when is it equal to 0, solve it. So there are two things that basically you will check. The denominator, whatever the denominator, shouldn't be 0. That makes it undefined. Or if there is tangent, if tangent exists, so that angle of tangent, you see tangent x, if this tangent 2x, then 2x, whatever. So that angle of tangent should not be 90 and k times 180. Okay, so that was 5.3. Now 5.4, it is sine 40 is given as m. Now the question will be asked to find things in terms of m. Before ending up 40 and 50, whatever, or maybe double angle, you see, we need to simplify this. There may be some special angles or whatsoever. So we need to simplify, and we need to try to reach like 40 or 50, because 90 minus 40 is 50, or double angle of 40, maybe 80 or 20. No, we want to reach those things. The question will lead us there anyway. So firstly, cosine 310 is what? 360 minus 50. So it's just 50, cosine 50, it's positive anyway. So it's cosine 50. And then tangent 150 is second quadrant, 180 minus 30. It is sine 30, sorry. Sine is positive. That's fine. So I'm just rewriting the expression. 4 times 140. So 140 is 180 minus 40. It is good. We have 40 anyway. So that's good. So I'll say sine 40, which is positive sine 40 second quadrant. And finally, tan 135. So it's 180 minus 45. Yes, but tangent is negative. So it's negative tangent 45. So 45, 60, and 30 are our special angles. So I can just use calculator in a way, but I shouldn't show that thing. So basically, I have to write cos 50 divided by 1/2 and plus 4 times sine 50 times what? Special angle gives -1. So basically, what does this thing? This thing is 2 cos 50 and then minus 4 sine 40. It's not really bad because I told you 50 is fine. Why? Because 50 actually is 90 minus 40. So actually it can be converted to sine 40. So without any double angle or anything, instead of cos 50, I can write sine 40. So then what is 2 sine 40 minus 4 sine 40 is basically negative 2 sine 40. And then the final answer is a negative 2m. That's it. So it wasn't really bad in terms of double angle, compound angle, nothing. It was just some substitutions. We didn't even apply any double angle. Huh? Yeah, no, nothing. Just substitution, some special angles. So you got the answer. Okay, that was 5.4 we had. Now, question 6, another graph question. There is 2 sine x, there is cosine x minus 45. This time, oh yeah, general solution is 5 marks. Drawing graph is 6 marks. You see, 6 mark is drawing, because there are 2 graphs and everything. The diagram will be given whatsoever. Now, for 5 marks, what do we do? It's sine and cosine. You need to think about the type. But now this is a bit tricky type, huh? Because you can say the angles are different, and then the coefficients are different as well. So not type 1, not type 2. This is basically type 3. And what was type 3? It's like you will trying your best. So trying our best could be like you can say 2 sine x and compound double angle rules and everything. So I'll apply compound angle rule for G. What is G? Cosine x minus 45. So what is the compound angle rule for that? So it is cos x, cos 45 being selfish, and then minus becomes plus, you punish. So this time it is sine x and sine 45. So this is type 3 because there's no straightforward way. Like I can't say like type 1 divide by cosine, or I can't say convert sine to cosine. That's type 2. So type 1, you divide by cosine. Type 2, you convert sine to cos. This is type 3. Try your best. Compound angle, double angle, factorization. Now, when you apply compound angle, actually 45s are special angles. So it is good to have such an expression, because you can end up, we will actually end up with type 1 now. Look at here. We have 2 sine is equal to cosine root 2 over 2 plus sine x root 2 over 2. So these are just numbers. So if we divide everything by cosine, this is type 1 now. What was type 1 again? Divide by cosine. So divide by cosine. So when you divide by cosine, 2 sine becomes 2 tangent. Yes. Cosine disappear, you have root 2 over 2. And then sine becomes tangent. So root 2 over root 2 is there. See, I can leave 10x alone, and I can actually get the answer. That's it. So how can I leave 10x alone? Can I just write the answer maybe straight? I can leave 10x alone like what? I have root 2 over 2 already there. Now what am I going to have? This 2, but the other root 2 over 2 comes from left to right. So that will be my 10x. Use calculator, inverse it. You see, from here, it's kind of easy. You're just going to say x is something plus k times 180, general solution, k integer. So that will be the answer, whatever the calculator gives you. It's just leaving that 10x alone. Okay. So there is 10x here and 10x there. You will take them one side and leave it alone. So that's 5 marks, type 3. So inside type 3, there is type 1. It happens sometimes type 2, you see. So it's just happening. There was such an example in the book as well. You can go through that. Now, in terms of drawing graph, let's skip that. But now, I think the answers will help us to answer 6.3. But what was 6.3? It's basically f above g. So once you draw the graphs, according to their intersections, you will answer this f above g. That's why they ask you use 6.1 and 6.2. Okay. So please check the memorandum as well for this graph. I have done this first equation, general solution 1, but you can, for drawing or answering 6.3, please go through with the memorandum. Let's check 3D shape question. Any question you want, I can skip or I can move that question quickly. Or even those trial paper questions, maybe last session, we can leave our period for that. Any questions from the trial papers will not be bad to look. Now, horizontal plane, that's which angle is BAC is theta, so those are alpha, angle of elevation. Okay, radius is R, is D the center? D is the center, yeah, okay, the shape is clear, radius is R. It gives us enough information, the shape. Now, 5-mark question is that BC, R times, see, it looks like there's no length BC, but why not? If we like add, that wouldn't be a problem. We can just add maybe BC over there. Now, which triangles do we have? You see, it's a 3D shape. Just like that previous question, there's a triangle on the right, the triangle on the left. Those are vertical triangles. And then they are right angled. But then there's inclined one, is the other option. Now, because radius is R, so we can just use those two first, I think, like, because they are identical with the same angles, alpha and everything. So you have this radius here, and you have that other one there. And this time I'll just use the inclined triangle, because that has the angle theta. Okay, so I just draw the ones that we need for this question. So I have A, so that is D, that is B. So this is alpha, that is 90 degrees, this is R. I will use it. Same thing, that is 90, that is D, that is R. Here is C, and that is A. So and in the last triangle, the one inclined one, there is A, B, C. So I know this angle. So that's theta, that's good. And the good thing is, those sides are, I can get from there. So AB, I can get AB from that other triangle here. You see that AB, it's the same AB. And I can get AC from this other triangle, it's the same AC. By the way, AB and AC are equal anyway, because the angles are alpha, alpha, they are congruent triangles. So that's it. And those triangles we use SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so for these triangles we can use SOHCAHTOA. Just write it aside, SOHCAHTOA. Now the other triangle, the inclined one, what can we use? Sine rule or cosine rule, that you decide. Okay, sine or cosine or area, whatever. But look at what they are asking. When it's such a disgusting stuff, when there is square root and stuff, it is 100% cosine rule. Okay. So if it were not square root or something, that will be sine rule maybe. But look at here, it's 100% cosine rule. So I will apply cosine rule. And how can I apply cosine rule? Don't worry about sine rule. The cosine rule says BC square is whatever square, you know, AB square plus AC square minus 2. So I will apply it. And that's why I will leave BC alone. That's the question. You see, that's cosine rule, 99%, 100%. So, but first of all, let's find those AB and AC. So which SOHCAHTOA is there? So according to the angle, we have adjacent and hypotenuse, same thing. According to adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. So you say cosine alpha is basically R over AB or AC. Actually, they are same. R over AC. So what is AC? AC is R over cosine alpha. Okay, AC is R over cosine alpha. So same thing works in the other triangle. Cosine alpha is R over AB. And what is AB? R over cosine alpha. So AC and AB are equal anyway, R over cosine alpha. So now, can I apply this into the cosine rule, the inclined triangle? Yes, it will be just not looking nice, but yes. So BC square is what? It's AB square plus AC square minus 2 times AB times AC times what? Cosine theta. Now, let's do the substitution. What we have AB square, it's R square over cos square plus r square over cos square. Now minus 2 times, okay, since they are same, I'm not going to rewrite them. There's no space here, but that will be r square over cos square as well, because they are same thing, r over cos times r over cos times cosine theta. Now, you know what? I can take r square over cos square as a common factor. So like it's screaming, oh, okay, before taking common factor, can I add these two? I have to add these two. So r square over cos square, r square over cos square. So it's basically 2 r square over cos square. Let's do that. Minus, again, 2 r square over cos square and cosine theta. I know it's ugly, but you know, it's getting there. You can feel it. So this is BC square. If you take r, actually take even 2r square over cos square as a common factor. See, nothing is wrong. If you take 2r square over cos square as a common factor, what do you get? 1 minus cosine theta. We are almost there, because when you root this thing, you actually get what they wanted. Okay, so this is, remember, BC square. So you can just say, so BC is root this thing. It is 2r square over cos square and times 1 minus cosine. As you see, r square and cos square comes out, the others left inside. So you can get what they want. That's it. So this was 5 marks. It could be 7 marks, but that's how you are approaching. You see, you just look at the connected lines and think about, is it SOHCAHTOA or any other angle? Oh, by the way, let's see. You see, we didn't see it again, but reading time, please do that. 7.2. Can we answer it before 7.1? I think so. R is given, theta is given, cos alpha is, yeah, we can. You see, that's the thing. Please do that. 3 marks. Such questions, it can happen in Euclidean geometry sometimes. You see, sometimes they ask a similarity, and with the ratios, next step, you will just write the first two over first two, last two over, you will just write it, and then you'll get at least 1 mark from nothing, you know, from out of nowhere, you get 1 mark sometimes. So even here, you just substitute, like we know BC, what is BC? 100. So just substitute basically. You can just solve. That's nice. You can focus that, just substitute, and then make it your day. So it's 100 is equal to, R is 50 divided by cosine alpha. That's the question, cosine alpha. And inside root, we will have 1 minus cos theta. It says no calculator because it's a special angle. I mean, theta is 30 degrees. Cos 30. So that means just substitute that 30 degrees. So first of all, how can I leave cosine alone? I can swap that. So cosine alone, I can swap with 100. So it is 50 over 100. I'll cancel it, don't worry, later on. So it is 2 times, yes, 1 minus root 3 over 2. That's special angle. And so what do you get? I mean, I think from now we should be fine with calculator, man. I can't carry on writing this 2, that is whatever. So the rest is calculated. Let me write the same thing. 1 minus root 2 over 2, root 3 over 2, divided by 2. So you'll get the answer with calculator. 3 marks. So substitution, please, such questions, don't lose any mark here. Whatever you are doing, you can just get it there. Now, KZM paper, that it's like the first questions are usually like this. In terms of questions, sometimes you draw a diagram. Usually it is no calculator at all. Just be careful with that in that case. Sometimes it looks different or difficult. Maybe you see like determine the maximum value of 8 minus 10. So, okay, let's do that. That looks nice. And what about that first one now? Cosine 90. So such questions, first try to see what is the connection. Like there is 19, there is 161. And it's in the second quadrant sign. So let's simplify it. What is 180 minus, so it is 180 minus 19. So basically this whole thing is sine 19. So instead of sine 19 given, they gave us sine 161. So basically sine 19 is t. So if sine 19 is t, what is cosine 19? Oh, okay, that you need a triangle maybe. Or you can use just 1 minus t squared from the identities anyway. So you can just like the first question. So that's my 19, that's my t and 1. So you find, no, not t, t is the adjacent one, sorry. So that's my t and that's my 1. And so that's my 1 minus t squared. So then the answer is 1 minus t squared. But you need to show these things in that way, you see. 3 marks. You can say 1 mark for sine 19, 1 mark for the diagram, 1 mark for the answer. Now, tangent 71, what's the relation between 71 and 19? See that angle on the top, they add up to 90. So tangent 71 is that angle. Why is it 3 marks? Because I just can write the answer now straight. What's the answer? Opposite, root 1 minus t squared over adjacent t. Okay, I think it deserves 2 marks, not 3, but anyway. So we got that. You just write tangent 71. So it is good that we had the triangle. And then the last one, you can always add 360, huh? You know that. So that's not a problem if we add 360. So if you add 360, that becomes cosine 19. So, okay, so it's 1 over your first answer, 1 minus t squared. All is fine. Okay, let's move on. A plus b is 90, tangent a is given. So you know what? It is given a plus y is 90, because then I can just actually draw a right angle triangle. One angle is a and one angle is what? B, because they add up to 90. So that's how it happens. So I can tell you that angle is of a and that angle will be b. And that's whatever it is. I don't care. So what we are given is tangent a 0.2 is 1 over 5. I want to write it that way. You know why? Because tangent A, I want to write 1 over 5 like that. See, writing 0.2 over 1 doesn't look nice, you know, that's why. Please, man, just do this. And then what do you get in the hypotenuse then? 37, no, 26, huh? 25 plus 1, the hypotenuse will be 26. Now, can you tell me what is sine A? Yeah, 1 over root 26 done. You see, and then any question here? You basically use that angle A, 0. You see the 0.2 I changed. That's a bit, no, that part, if you have any issue, you can just tangent 0.2. I wrote 1 over 5, and that's why I write 1 and 5 for A. And B is the other angle. Now, okay, B is the other angle is coming now. If you, what do we do? It's like both negative, man. Okay, nothing is wrong. Again, adding 360, like in the first one, what we did, we basically say plus 360. Even this one, you add 360, nothing is wrong. Because when you add 360, what do you get? You get cosine 180 minus b. And then it gives me what? Cosine 180 minus b is negative cosine b. And what is negative cosine b? Negative cosine b is adjacent is 1, negative 1 over root 26. Okay, that's the answer. So you add 360, you find cosine b alone, and then you use the diagram. The diagram we already had. Okay. Now, for these maximum minimum questions, those days when we do trigonometry together, second term, we did such questions, but be careful. It's we had to end up as a single function. That was the aim, if you remember. In those examples, if you are taking notes, please look that in your books. But this is kind of one of them. You see, like when you see sine and cosine multiply, it is a cosine, a sine double angle backward. So, but there's no 2 in front, there is 5, doesn't matter, you have the coefficients. So it will be 5 sine 2x and cosine cancels. See, so basically we just changed that part. Now, in this regard, so can I just write the minimum and maximum values? Like what are the possible values for minimum and maximum for that? You see, when it is sine 2x, let's write a general answer so we can answer this maximum. Sine 2x minimum and maximum is between -1 and 1. See, minimum is -1, maximum is 1. But when you times with 5, so minimum and maximum change. So minimum becomes -5, maximum becomes 5, because you times with -5. So basically, you had 8 minus -5, or you had 8 minus 5. So now the minimum value of sine gives us maximum answer 13. The maximum value of sine gives us minimum answer 3. So that expression has a range between 3 to 13. Okay, so basically 13 is the maximum one, 3 is the minimum one for that expression. Like if I need to write the range, its range is what? 3 to 13. So that's minimum, that's maximum. Okay, so it's the range of sine times by 5, add 8, whatever. So what's the answer, by the way? They asked the maximum. Answer is 13. Okay, so that's how we solve in such case questions like that. Okay, so that was another trick question from KZN. So it carries on. Oh, that's inside root, something doesn't look nice, and 8 marks. Oh, please, and no calculator. So let's see. Let's take one step at a time. Are they all special angles? Looks like, yeah, 570, 300. So, and it is cube root. Oh, please don't make a mistake of looking there. It's not square root. It is cube root, which I just noticed now. It's cube root. So we will be keep writing and then simplifying. So you can just say cube root, take one by one. So don't hesitate to get answers, wrong way. So I'll try to draw a line inside, yes. And then we can just write those values. Okay, and even the cube root sign, let's write it as a straight line. All right, good. So that's the cube root. Now, what is going to be inside? -2, okay, it doesn't change, -2. Sine 180 plus, so sine is negative in that quadrant, sine 45 is special angle, don't worry. And cosine, what? 360 minus, cosine is positive, just write cosine 45. So that is done. And denominator, sine 120, 180 minus 60, sine is positive, sine 60. And then tangent 570. Oh, if 570 is too much, and you subtract 360. So you end up 210. So write it like that first, or take one more step. Sine tangent 210. Tangent 210 is what? 180 plus 30. Tangent is positive, tangent 30. And finally, cosine 300. 360 minus 60, so it's cosine 60. Okay, so that's the first step. Each one you just write with the acute angles and with the acute special angles. So then we can just say cube root. Now write the values, like -2 times minus root 2 over 2 times root 2 over 2, one by one. Okay, and then you have root 3 over 2 times root 3 over 3 times 1 over 2. Just write the values. And then with no calculator idea, but I believe they will be fine if you write those separate. Like, what is numerator now? The negative cancel. That's 1 over 2. So it's 1. The whole numerator becomes 1. And denominator is root 2's cancels 3. So it becomes like 1 over 2 in denominator you end up, because the other things cancel. So then final answer is cube root 2. That's the answer. So see, for 8 marks, it's not bad actually. They may not ask always like this 8 mark questions, but if they ask, you shouldn't mind answering. So find the values of A and B. This is the graph question. They gave the graphs, so we find the missing ones. So as you see, the curve is for sine, and the tangent is that with the asymptote lines. Now, what do we see about the sine A? So it goes up till, you see, it goes up till 2. And that's why I can tell you A is equal to 2. That's it. And then what about the period? Period of tangent. See, the period of this is 360 because all the way from minus 180 to 180. So its period is 360. Now, how do I get 360? Dividing 180 by b. So is it tangent to x? No. It must be divided by half. So that's why, I mean, you don't need to show any calculation, anything. You should just say b is half and a is 2. But I'm just showing you how do you get b is half. Because of the period supposed to be 180, but it becomes 360. So if you half the period, then b is 2. But it's not, it's like double the period. So this one doubles the period. The b effect doubles the period. So according to the method, 180 over b is 360. The current period is 360. You can see all the way from minus 180 to 180. So it's the distance between the asymptote lines. So that's my period. And you can see it is 360. So which is supposed to be 180. So it's supposed to be 180, but it's 360. So, but then the way of finding period is the original one divided by coefficient of x, coefficient of angle. So coefficient of angle is b, 180 over b must be 360. So that's how we get b. And finding a is basically just 90, sine 90 is supposed to be 1, but it gives me 2, that's why. How can it give me 2? Because it multiplied by 2, so a is 2. And period of f is the next question. So it is period of sine is 360 and period of g, okay, those are fine, we just answered. So that's period of sine is 180, period of g is, 360, period of g is, oh, they both 360, the periods. Oh, nice. So both periods are 360, period of sine, 2 sine x is, the 2 sine x, 2 doesn't change the period of it. So sine x period is 360, 2 sine x period is 360. But for tangent, that's the issue. Last one, 8 marks. Show that the values of x for which, okay, if x is between 180 to 180, and they want us solve the equation. So what was the equation now? 2 sine x over tangent x over 2. And for 8 marks, they want us to do that. They actually gave the answers. So how can we solve basically what? 2 sine x and is equal to tangent x over 2. So tangent is sine over cosine, but this is tangent x over 2. Now, I want to apply the double angle rule for sine because it is half of that. So we can do in this way. We can say 2 sine x is 4 sine x over 2 cosine x over 2, and which is equal to, what is tangent? Tangent is sine x over 2 over cosine x over 2. So I hope you are with me now. What happened here is instead of sine x, I wrote 2 sine x over 2 cos x over, but there's already 2 in front. That's why it becomes 4. So why I do this? Because I want all the angles with x over 2. No, I can't change this tangent x over 2 to 10x or something. I cannot, there's not an easy way to do that, but there's an easy way to change sine x to half of that double angle. So what I will do next, I think we solve such a question. You multiply everything with cosine x over 2. You put everything one side and factorize. So we will solve for x over 2, and then we will get the answers for x. So that's the method. So if you do this step, then the rest wouldn't be that much worry you. You can just times everything with cos x over 2 and put everything one side. So let me do it one step. So it is sine x over 2 times cosine square x over 2. So that's, I multiply this by, and then take sine x over 2 from left to right to left. So that's my equation. So first step, you apply identities. And second step, basically simplify everything one side. Now the third step, we will factorize. So common factor is sine x over 2. Yes. And what is left? 4 cos square x over 2 minus 1 is equal to minus 1 is equal to 0. Because sine x we took as a common factor. So third step is factorize. And then finally, we can just solve for each. So we will get an answer for what makes sine x over 2 0. So sine x over 2 is 0 when x over 2 is what? 0 plus k times 360 or 180 minus 0. But as you see in this interval, when you times x with 2, you only get one answer, 0. Now the other one is coming from there, from the other factor. So cosine square x over 2 must be 1 over 4, because it's square, huh? Be careful. Cosine square x over 2 must be 1 over 4. So if you root it, it's not just 1 over 2, it's plus minus 1 over 2. So you actually get two possible answers. Cosine x is 1 over 2, or cosine x is minus 1 over 2. Sorry, x over 2 is minus 1 over 2. So each one will give us two set of answers. Like this one gives us 60, that one gives us 120. So x over 2 is plus minus 60 plus k times 360, or x over 2, that gives, the calculator gives 120, so plus minus 120 plus k times 360. Now all these angles I have to times by 2, because what I got is only for x over 2. Factorize and solve. So all these answers I got for x over 2. So if I will be writing all general solutions, I will be always k times 720. Okay, but anyway, it's not a general solution. It's just they want us to show all these are the three possible answers here: minus 120, 0, and 120. I think we already got them anyway. You're just gonna write that when you times by 2. So we can have, let's say, for x, we have 0 or what, 360, or plus minus 120, or plus minus 240, and all of them plus k times 720. Okay, so all of them are normally plus k times 720. So we got 0, we got 360, we got plus minus 120, we got plus minus 240. So in this interval, the ones we have are all there. So all is fine. You can just check. We got those values. So then you can smile. Actually, there is nothing to do anything here. So look at those answers and look at what they tell us. So all is there. It was 8 marks because of that, that step. At the first step, you may just have no idea what to do. That's why it is actually difficult now. Instead of sine x, thinking of writing 2 sine cosine, 2 sine x over 2 cos x, that's not easy to think. But why we thought in that way, because the other side is tangent x over 2. Now that other side, I can write sine x over 2 cos x. So that's, I need them. That's why. Okay. So this question is kind of a 3D shape. We can say the lengths, the distances are look like all given. BC, B meters. So that's B, that's alpha, beta, theta. All those angles are there. So DE in terms of DF and theta is one angle. DE, and then because it's a rectangle, I will go down to this. So here, just this point is important. We may not solve it. What's that point? The length of DF and the length of BC are same. So see, when you express DE in terms of DF, actually DF is same as BC. So I will combine these two. And again, in our other solutions, what is that? This is a right angle triangle. So I use SOHCAHTOA, obviously. And then that other triangle, I use the rules. Okay. And look at the formula they ask us to prove. Which rule we are going to use? Look at what they gave us. Can it be, is there square roots or anything disgusting? No. It's basically sine rule. Okay. I don't need to write rules. I can just write sine rule, because that's what is over there. It's not square root or anything. So we basically will use the sine rule. So we're going to use SOHCAHTOA, and the sine rule using the link, which is DF and BC, and then we can just combine them. Okay, so that will be this question 4.3. So last session, we can look this paper of Limpopo.